What's your I beat the system story? I cancelled my Comcast subscription when the introductory rate ran out and they closed my account but didn't shut off the internet. I was using my own modem and router and it just kept working for the next year I lived there. I do work for ICE, that isn't Comcast, and we sometimes find those. I do my best to keep them on the line as long as I can before I'm forced to disconnect them. I flew with my 2 kids and so checked a booster car, a $30 value, seat for the 7-year-old. The airline lost the booster car seat. The airline gave me a loaner booster to use in the meantime. But they never found our original booster. So, per the airline's policy, because the airline completely lost a piece of luggage, they will pay me $1,500. It took a little work, including filing a police report. But 4 months later I got a check for $1,500 for our lost booster. I still have the loaner booster. Subway free cookie loop. 1. Buy something. Get a receipt. 2. Do the 5-minute questionnaire on said receipt. 3. Turn it in for a free cookie. Request a receipt, which they're required to by law. 4. Go to step 2. Edit, since I got you all here. Putting peanut butter on graham crackers is another wonderful thing. My dad invented it. Where I live, Burger King was doing this with Whoppers. I could eat a free Whopper every day for about 2 years. I didn't eat one every day for 2 years, though. Sometimes I'd eat 4 per day. Anyway, firefighters say I might be able to walk out of the front door on my own in 6 months. I pull this trick out when return policies fail me. It all started with a hairdryer I purchased from Ulta. That promptly fizzled and died right out of the box upon first use. The receipt was lost to the garbage. So I tried returning it the next day. They wouldn't give me store credit. Not even in exchange for a functioning hairdryer after I showed them the one I bought was completely dead. So, fuming, I went to the aisle and grabbed another hairdryer of the exact same type. Waited 2 days and went back in with the receipt from my second purchase and the dead hairdryer. They refunded me in full and the second hairdryer lasted me for at least 10 years. My state has an 18-month-long provisional driver's license period that resets if you get a ticket. So 16 months into my provisional, I get pulled over by a particularly pedantic cop for going 7 over on the highway. Not wanting to restart my provisional period, I waited until the last day I had to either pay the fine or request a court date. So I requested a court date. Very fortunately, my court date was set for the day after my provisional period ended. The day before court, I ran over to the MVA and got my full license. Then I went straight to the county courthouse and paid the $80 ticket, while I still had to pay a fine and 2 points on my license. By the time I admitted guilt I was on a full license, so there was no waiting period to reset and no further consequences that would have affected me if I were still on a provisional, mandatory driver's improvement, etc. Nearly 14 years later, it's still the only ticket I've ever gotten. Knock on wood. Downloaded LimeWire Pro with LimeWire. I remember back in the day when free trials ran off of the system clock and you could either set the system clock to the year 2025 when you installed the program, or just go find a plain text INI file with a trial end date and change it. Good times. Simpler times. In college I was supposed to take lab science classes. At my school, lab science classes were notoriously difficult and didn't have anything to do with my field of study. I ended up finding 2 online science classes from the University of Nebraska that happened to coincide with an internship I had in Omaha. I got it approved through my advisor and the classes were a ducking breeze. They were the most entry-level classes on geography and climate. What is El Nino? How does a tornado form? It was a breeze. Fast forward to graduation. I found out that my lab science classes are supposed to be hands-on. My advisor assumed that since I was interning in Omaha that the classes were in person. I was 2 months from graduation when we figured this out, so they just accepted the credits. I got lucky that day and learned some rad shit about geography and landforms. I bought a textbook on Amazon for really cheap and sold it to the campus bookstore for more than I paid for it. The only time I've ever made money off a textbook or even come close. Not me, but my aunt and uncle. Bought a house when they got married and got 1 free month of cable TV. They never purchased it after that, but it was never shut off. 31 years later they got a phone call. Our records show you're not paying for cable. Have you enjoyed the service? Here in Maine, we have this weird law called the Maine Implied Warranty Law. It basically says that if something breaks within the expected lifespan, the retailer has to replace it. It's a rarely used consumer protection law. Earlier this year my phone stopped connecting to networks. I go to the fruit-themed phone manufacturer store and they say it's a carrier issue. I visit the carrier and they say it's a hardware issue. I revisit the phone manufacturer and mention that it could be an issue with the SIM card tray, which these models were known for. They take the phone out back and open it up and confirm that the SIM card wasn't making contact. They came back and told me that and said, unfortunately your phone is no longer covered by Fruit Care, so your options are leave or buy a new phone at full price. I paused and said, have you ever heard of the Maine Implied Warranty Law? Without skipping a beat he says, "Lem, go chat with a manager," and walks away. I watched him have a 5-second chat with another dude in a blue t-shirt and come back and says, "Lem, go grab you a new phone from the back." New phone. $0. In 2012, when real estate had just about bottomed out, we put in a low ball offer on a foreclosure. Bought a house for $62,500. It's a Victorian, built in 1903. Original woodwork. Original stained glass windows. etc. It needs some cosmetic work, but it's structurally fine and had been rewired in 2008. $500 mortgage payments for an almost 3,000 square foot house. Was at a restaurant and their Wi-Fi was locked. But I wanted Wi-Fi. I tried the title of the Wi-Fi as the password and I got in. I'm a hacker. I cancelled my cell phone plan and put a tablet SIM card with a data plan in my phone. My phone is now a tablet with LTE. Got a VoIP phone number through SendHub. Now pay $30 month instead of $90 month for virtually the exact same service. Edit. This is in Canada. We pay quite a bit more and have fewer options than our MAGA friends to the south. Every time I am getting ready to move, I've gotten a jury duty summons. In most cases, you can delay 30 days without needing an excuse. So I do that. Then I get my paperwork for the new state and send it back like, sorry, I don't live there anymore. It's happened 3 times. I live in a metro area that crosses state lines, and at various times I've lived in both sides of the state line. So usually it's I don't live in this state anymore. I've only been summoned a single time, and that was when I was 18. I'm 28 now, and I think because I've moved states a few times, I just fall through the cracks. A lot of fast food companies have something on the receipt that gives you a pretty good reward for calling in or getting online to fill out a survey about your experience. But one stands above all. Chick-fil-A. It's a 1-minute survey. And instead of making you purchase anything, you get a free original chicken sandwich. No purchase necessary. If you're feeling adventurous, grab a receipt or 2 from the trash. Do the quick survey and get yourself some free food. But don't do it on Sundays. Because closed. I haven't paid for the tram ticket. Tram was too full for a ticket guy to get through to me. Take that Blackpool transport. What my friends and I did back in the day was we would always chip in and buy 1 ticket for the 6 of us. The one of us that had the ticket would stand while the others would sit. As soon as the ticket guy came in, the one guy with the ticket would wait for like a few seconds until the ticket guy notices him and then start running in the other direction. The ticket guy would chase him down the train, and when he got to him, our buddy would just show his ticket. Nothing wrong here. This would give the rest of us time to get off on the next stop. Became a paramedic several years ago. Popped an emergency services sticker on my car. Haven't gotten a ticket since. What kind of car do you drive also, if you don't mind me asking? A Jeep. Why? I got a ticket for driving on a suspended license. Managed to win that because it turned out the county that filed my old speeding ticket forgot about my paperwork and wound up suspending my license. Had an apology letter and a receipt from the court there to bring to a second court. Cause God forbid the court systems communicate with one another. I'm American and got through my masters with only $2,000 in debt. According to 99% of my peers. That counts as beating the system. A masters? If you get a good job you could pay that off in a month. You beat the duck out of the system. Joined a gym. Used it. And when it was time to cancel my membership, they required a certified letter of cancellation to their national HQ, and they would possibly charge me for one more month after that. Cancelled in February. Expected to have my last bill taken out in March. Got billed March, April, and May. Called credit card company and they charged back all 4 months, February onward, of membership and denied any further charges from the gym. When I was 9, I was allowed 1 hour of screen time a day, TV, video games, etc. My mom said, when you pay for the video games yourself, you can play them all you want. I think she only considered the price of a new video game console when she made this statement. I saved up my allowance to buy a broken N64 for $5 and a replacement part for $20. Not me, but my sister. My sister was an English teacher in Taiwan for about a year. She holds dual citizenship, Taiwan and USA. So she used that to her advantage. Foreign teachers in Taiwan get a higher salary than local teachers, for some reason. So she used her USA citizenship to apply for the job at the English school. However, non-citizens also pay higher taxes than citizens. So when she did her taxes, she used her Taiwanese citizenship. In the eyes of the school, she was a foreigner. So she got higher pay. In the eyes of the government, she was a citizen. So she paid the same amount of taxes citizens do, which is lower than what non-citizens have to pay. So she got the best of both worlds by using her dual citizenship to exploit a loophole. Needless to say, she pissed off some of her foreigner and local co-workers, since they were jealous. In case anybody was wondering, I also hold dual citizenship. The reason I haven't done the same thing is because I'm a male, and I'm not too keen on mandatory military service. The time to chocolate bars dropped at once in the vending machine. Started getting a subscription to 17 magazine when I was about 14 years old. Somehow, to this day, I still receive the magazine although I have not paid a subscription renewal fee in years. I'm now 22 years old reading a teen girl magazine. But hey, it's free, so why not? I told that story before. The parking passes for my college were all sold out. It was first come first serve, and even if I was there at 7 AM students were there at 5 AM, so I couldn't get one. You can't park on the streets around, so I was kind of furious at myself for not getting up earlier. I decided to read the student handbook about parking. I found out that you could use the other campus parking pass there. The other campus was in the suburbs, so everyone was parking on the streets there, so plenty of passes were available. Went there, bought the pass, and was so proud of myself for sticking it to the man. Recently we ordered $70 worth of pizza on their webpage. When we came to pick it up, their record said we paid for it on the website. We didn't. We told them, but they gave it to us for free. Checked our account online later on and we definitely didn't pay. Free pizza. Lived in an apartment between 2004 and 2009. This was during the boom in oil prices, and I live in an oil-rich province in Canada. People from all over the world were flooding in to find work. Vacancy rates in my city plummeted to less than 1%. Rents were going up all the time, and my building was no exception. I think that by law tenants must be given 90 days notice before rent can be raised. And every 90 days, like clockwork, I got a notice in my mailbox telling me of an upcoming increase. When I moved in, my rent was $720 a month. By the time I moved out, 5 years later, it was up to $1,700. But sometime in between moving in and moving out, I got tired of it and I stopped paying the higher amount. I just kept handing in checks for the same amount. I kept it up for 3 or 4 years and never heard a thing from anyone, saving myself thousands. My car got towed away from a lot that didn't have any no parking signs. Feeling righteously angry, I found out that the impound lot was a gas station downtown and got a ride from a friend, but I asked him to drop me off 1 block away from the lot so they wouldn't see me coming. I walked the rest of the way and saw that all they had was a chain across the driveway but no fence around the lot. Jumped in my car, drove across the grass and over the curb and into the street in freedom. Back in the days of Napster and subsequently Kazaa and others, a common tactic of the recording industry was to put out songs that play and partway through the audio gets scrambled. They flooded download sites with these spoof tracks. In order to frustrate users, I fought back by editing the good portions of spoof tracks together to get a full copy, and making for damn sure I seeded them for others. I was a mediocre student, and never excelled at much. I got a bachelor's degree in art, and ended up in a civil service job. Sucked, but it had a pension. I retired with a pension at age 52. My wife retired at the same time. She's deceased now, but I'm still pretty young to be retired. I have 2 pensions, mine and my wife's, and if I spend them, plus a tiny fraction of my savings each year, I have calculated that I can spend $100,000 per year for the rest of my life, as long as I die before I'm 120 years old. My sweet wife was a genius with money, and I'm now borderline rich. Not me, but a friend from high school who worked at a gas station that was part of a grocery store. People who bought groceries were given coupons for $2 off their gas purchase. This was the 1980s, so no one paid by bank card. It was all cash. If someone filled up and didn't hand in a coupon for a discount, he'd stick one in the till along with their cash and pocket the $2. The guy was 17 years old in 1987 and had $4,000 or $5,000 in his bank account and owned 2 vehicles. A few years ago, my cell phone provider was doing $200 if you traded in a smartphone when you bought a new one. So I grabbed my oldest Droid, went to the store, and did just that. Well, they kept texting me offers with different codes. So I grabbed my next oldest phone. Rinse repeat. More codes. More $sign. I was getting phones from family and buying cheap ones off Craigslist for $40, etc. Needless to say, I didn't pay my cell phone bill for almost a year. Thanks guys. Back in elementary school, if you ran out of money on your lunch account, the lunch ladies would take back your meal, throw it away, and give you a cheese sandwich, 2 pieces of white bread with a piece of American cheese wedged between, and a skim milk. Me and 5-6 buddies all decided that we were going to stick it to the system and purposefully run out of money on the same day. We tasked everyone with bringing a different component of the lunch. One kid brought turkey slices. One brought mayo. One brought chips. One brought chocolate milk powder and one kid brought fruit snacks or something. We went way over the top thanking the lunch ladies for our cheese sandwiches and milk. Just being complete little hits. Needless to say, the lunch ladies were not happy and we had a blast. A traffic speed camera van took a picture of the front of my motorcycle as I rode towards it. They normally take a second photo of the back as you drive past. I slammed on the brakes and managed to stop just before the van. Then, I sat there and thought about it for a second. Without turning the bike around, I backed 100 yards back along the road to the previous junction. No plates on the front of a motorcycle, so no ticket. IDK about beating the system %. But I graduated from a top 5 public university and got a master's at the top school for my field. All with $0 in student loans. Not being in debt in the US is beating the system. If you're ever in downtown New Orleans and don't want to spend $40 for parking, just park at Harrah's Casino. Get a player's card and play a penny slot for 30 minutes. They'll validate your parking all night for less than $1. Amazon refused to take my old Kindle. They said it was smashed up. It was fine when I sent it. So I told UPS and Amazon that they broke my thing. And got $50, $25 from both. And my Kindle back. Which wasn't even broken. Back in high school I was a pretty poor student. Senior year rolls around and I'm a half math credit short for graduation. Graduation requires 2 credits of math. Pointed out to my counselor that nowhere did it say the math class couldn't be a lower level than I had already passed. I had already taken and passed some algebra classes. So senior year I took a remedial arithmetic class with special needs kids just so I wouldn't have homework and could graduate on time. This actually just happened to me this week. I booked a hotel room for 3 nights on hotels.com and clicked on the option pay at the hotel. I got to the hotel and needed to change my reservation to account for another person that I wasn't expecting. When I went to the desk to change it, they said I had already paid on the website. So I just needed to pay the upcharge for having an extra bed in the room $20. Ended up having a 3-night stay in a hotel for just over $20. 2 days ago I price matched an Xbox One X at Best Buy from Walmart for $300. The console was supposed to come with a free copy of PUBG. I went back to the chat and spoke to an agent who added PUBG to the cart. Zeroed out the total. And had me pay for it. It was for in-store pickup. I got the email that the game was ready for pickup. Headed over to Best Buy and got in line to pick it up. I look at the pickup email and turns out the agent added an Xbox One X to cart instead of the PUBG game. Free Xbox One X woot. Woot. Whenever there is a long as line to get into the club, just go up to the bouncer and say, hey, we forgot to close our tabs, can we quickly go in there and close it? This will work if you are trying to get into the VIP section of a club as well. 9 times out of 10 the bouncer will let you in. This works only if it's just a couple of people trying to get in. My grandpa's credit card company had a promotion where they'd round up the change on anything you bought. I buy a sandwich for $3.50. They give me $50. Well, he'd go to Staples and copy computer paper for $1 over and over again and the credit card company would give him 99 cents each time, lol. Order some food at Wendy's. Person who takes cash isn't at their window for like 3 minutes. I assume they just do it all at the second window, so I drive up. Here's your food, sir. Have a nice night. If you were lucky enough to purchase the lifetime subscription from SiriusXM, you can still keep it. They have been making up rules about the amount of times you can switch radios. New rules state you can only swap 3 times before they cut off the lifetime. I have swapped 7 times and every time we go through the same thing. You already swapped 3 times, there is nothing we can do. Anyway, after arguing on the phones for about 3 weeks, I filed a BBB claim saying they are scamming consumers. Wouldn't you know, they had someone contact me the next day and they turned my lifetime subscription back on. 2 years later, as soon as they tell me they can't do anything, I immediately fill out a BBB complaint and get service restored rather than arguing with them.